We all face moments when the world feels overwhelmingly heavy, times when you feel alone, and the sadness seems like it will never lift. It is a universal human weight, one that was felt deeply in the city of Mecca over 14 centuries ago. This was the world of the Prophet Muhammad and the small community of early Muslims, a group that had already been pushed to their absolute physical limits. For 3 grueling years, they had been starved and isolated. The ruling Quraysh tribe enforced a total boycott, cutting off food, trade, and basic social contact. Finally, that ban was lifted. The physical starvation ended. But as the community began to breathe again, a more personal trial was about to begin. History remembers this period as the Year of Sorrow. Within a matter of months, the Prophet's earthly support system completely collapsed. First, he lost his wife, Khadijah. For 25 years, she had been his primary source of internal peace, the one person who provided comfort when the rest of the world rejected his message. Soon after, his uncle, Abu Talib, passed away. Though he never embraced Islam, Abu Talib was a powerful tribal figure who had served as the Prophet's external shield, preventing the Quraysh from carrying out their most violent threats. Without the peace of his home or the protection of his tribe, the Prophet was left exposed. The neighbors who once hesitated now began a campaign of escalating physical persecution. It raises a question that every believer eventually faces. When every earthly source of comfort is stripped away, where does a person find the strength to keep going? When worldly support reaches its end, divine support begins. It was in this moment of total isolation that Allah commanded the Hijrah, the migration to a new home in Medina. But leaving Mecca meant surviving an assassination plot. A group of men gathered outside his door, swords drawn. But instead of a violent confrontation, Allah clouded the perception of the attackers. The Prophet walked directly through their ranks, entirely unnoticed, and slipped away into the night. The danger didn't vanish instantly. Days later, he and Abu Bakr sat in the suffocating silence of the Cave of Thawr, listening to their pursuers standing just feet away. As the voices of their enemies echoed at the cave's mouth, Abu Bakr's concern was met with a quiet, steady reassurance. The Prophet looked at him and said, "Do not be sad. Indeed, Allah is with us." That single sentence transformed the danger into a secondary thought. Divine support didn't remove the enemies, but it removed the fear from the cave. Allah granted them peace right in the center of the threat. Leaving the cave, they pushed into the open desert. They had left behind their homes and wealth, trading everything for the hope of safety. But the Quraysh had placed a massive bounty on their heads. A warrior named Suraqa, lured by the promise of wealth, tracked them down and began a high-speed chase across the dunes. Every time Suraqa drew close enough to strike, the ground beneath him gave way. His horse's legs repeatedly sank deep into the sand, throwing him to the desert floor. Seeing himself helpless, Suraqa realized he was fighting a higher power and abandoned the chase. It was a physical demonstration of a spiritual truth. No earthly weapon or bounty hunter can pierce the shield of divine protection. The long, perilous journey finally reached its end on the outskirts of Medina. In the village of Quba, they built a simple mosque from palm trunks and stone. It was the first physical foundation of the new community, a sign that their time of hiding was officially over. When the Prophet finally entered Medina, he wasn't met with assassins, but an ecstatic crowd. Men, women, and children lined the streets, waving palm branches, singing the famous words of welcome, "Tala al-Badru alayna," the full moon has risen over us. The isolation of the previous years was replaced by the warmth of a city that had been waiting for his arrival. Looking back at the journey, it becomes clear that the Year of Sorrow in Mecca was the necessary bridge to the joy and acceptance found in Medina. The Year of Sorrow pushed the Prophet to the edge of earthly isolation, but as his arrival in Medina proves, the deepest valleys of hardship often lead directly to the highest peaks of relief. Divine support doesn't mean life will be without difficulty. It means Allah will provide a path through the grief and lead you to a better destination. These are the lessons we want our children to carry. the stories that shape their identity and give them strength when they face their own challenges. At Muslim Quran Academy, we help children living in non-Arabic environments connect with these profound truths. We offer live, one-to-one classes in Quran, Arabic, and Islamic studies, taught by expert native tutors who make learning engaging and simple. Give your child the foundation they need. Experience our teaching style firsthand by booking a free, no-obligation trial class today at Muslim Academy.